Okay, so shalom. So now, this message here is going to be titled Bittersweet. Now, I want to say something right off the back, right? This message is titled Bittersweet. Now, I need you all to listen to this message very carefully because there's two things I want to say before I start this message, okay? The first thing I want to say before I start this message is I'm going to do something that I never did before. I'm not going to use any addresses. Okay, there's a reason why I'm doing this. Okay, there's always a reason why I do something. So this message here specifically, I'm not going to use any addresses in the Bible. Okay, but rest assured that I'm using scripture. Now, if anyone wants to be assured that I'm using the scripture, then go grab your scroll and follow along if that's what you want to do. But for the most part, I'm not going to be using any addresses at all. Now, I've done it before, but I've only done it in increments. But in this case right here, I'm going to, for none of this message, am I going to use any addresses. Now, that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is that I don't want anyone from this point, don't wait for my messages. Okay? Don't wait for my messages. Okay? My messages come every 2-3 days, depending upon the work week, depending upon this, depending upon that, depending upon what's going on. Okay? But I don't want you to wait for the messages. Why? Because there's no tension. There's no need for you to wait for anything. Okay? What I'm simply going to do is I make a message, and I make a message based upon what's going on at the time or something that may specifically need to be addressed at that point in time. So there's no waiting around for the message. You understand what I'm saying? When the message comes, the message comes. There's no need to wait around for the message. It's not that deep, right? But this message is going to be a good message this evening, all right? And I want everybody to pay careful attention. Now, I want you to bring your ear, because like I said before, I'm not going to use any addresses, and I want you all to pay very careful attention, okay? Let me see. I'm going to need my just to give me 1 minute. I don't want the time to lapse. Hold up. Okay. So now, no addresses, okay? No addresses. I want everybody to just pay attention. I want you to bring your ear. I'm going to roll through this message, all right? No addresses, all right? Pay careful attention. Destruction to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery or witchcraft, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. I'm going to read it again. Woe to those who who call evil good, and who call good evil, who put darkness in the place of light, and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you, as you were all warned before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. Now, the first segment of this message will be called Impossible, because at this point, I now realize that it is impossible to compel this people of the truth of Yahusha. The Negro, the majority of the Negro, will never succumb to the instructions of the Bible. And the majority of the Negro will never succumb to Yahusha HaMashiach. It's for many reasons. Some reasons is because it sounds foolish. Okay? Other reasons, well, I guess that and disbelief are in the same category. So, mainly, our people will never adhere to the set-apart manuscript because of disbelief and because of their weakness of mind, unable to deal with the masses and how the masses feel about the set-apart scrolls, or how the masses feel about this book right here. The masses, the majority of you people, you despise that book. A lot of women despise that book, and there are a lot of men too that despise that book. Okay? If you're a black person, that book is your friend, but you all look at that book as your enemy. Destruction to those who call good evil and evil good. The judgment of this people is very weak. The judgment of this entire world is twisted. Okay? The only judgment that has any accountability is the judgment and the wisdom of Christ. All other judgment is foolishness. Now, for so it was, no addresses in this message, but here is a short story. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against Yahuwah, their Elohim. which had brought them out of the land of Egypt. But I want to stop there for a minute, because do any of you black folk, how many of you believe that it was Christ that brought our forefathers out of the bondage, out from up under the slavery of the Egyptians, about 5,000, give or take, 5,000 years ago, 4,500 years ago? How many of you believe that? And if you do believe that, why aren't you grateful of that? For so many things that Christ has done for your and my ancestry, our ancestors, over the course of time. But what you have to understand is, it's not a fairy tale. And the severity of the things that took place in the past are going to come full circle again in the future. And what God, what power, what Elohim are you all going to call when that happens? Because there is a trouble coming for us black people. I can't figure out why that's so hard to believe. We know of troubles in the past, but the troubles that are coming are worse than any of the troubles in the past. Far worse in its entirety. So it was that the children of Israel had sinned against Yahuwah, their Elohim, which had brought them out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom Yahuwah cast out from before the children of Israel. The heathen are the other nations. The heathen are the Caucasians, the barbarians, the Vikings, the Europeans. The heathens are the Chinese. The heathens are the Arabs. The heathens are the Hamites. The heathens are the Amalekites. The heathens are the other nations. So the other nations, now listen, because he's going to say, and walked in the statutes of the heathens, whom Yahuwah cast out from before the children. For Yahuwah had cast out the other nations from the ancestors of us black folks. Why did he do that? Because the heathens worshipped false gods. Moreover, the heathens had false customs. So in order to keep us from walking in their statutes, and not the statutes that was given to us by Moses, he cast the heathen from among us. But yet, the ancestors of you Negroes, just like you Negroes today, continue to walk in the statutes and continue to worship the foreign make-believe powers of the heathens. So then it says, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against Yahuwah. So our ancestors, just like you all today, you do secretly things that are not the instructions of Moses, and things that are not the instructions of Christ. It says, and the children of Israel did secretly. Now, Christ is not mocked. Secretly, you're not hiding from him, but you do things secretly amongst the men that is contrary to Christ. But Elohim is not mocked. Secretly, and they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. So your ancestors set up images and groves you set up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. So you set up, so you do this today. Well, 3,500, 4,000 years ago, all the way up until, even till today, not so reckless today, but black folks would set up images, meaning statues made out of gold, stone, wood. An example is over there in the Congo, where you see many Africans, many of them are Israelites over in the continent of Africa. And as we've seen in movies and things of that nature, you've seen totem poles, so call it, in the jungles, or you've come upon caves or large stones that were carved into and erected into some type of figure. Our ancestors have always been doing that. Now, we have been given mercy. Many of you would like to call it grace. Now, the whole planet has been given mercy, but only the Israelites are given favor. They're not exactly the same thing. We have a favor because we have been ignorant because your fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and great-great-grandfathers, and great-great-great-grandfathers, and so on, have not been taught the word of Christ. And for those who have been taught, they haven't been given the scriptures, they haven't been taught the scriptures properly. The slave masters took this book, and the slave masters mistaught this book to our forefathers every Sunday. They mistaught it. Not only did they misteach it, but they attempted to reword some things. They weren't successful at corrupting the scrolls. They were not successful. Just like the Council of Nicaea was not successful. And just like Nero was not successful, and Alexander was not successful, just like the Persians and some of the other nations that attempted to corrupt the scrolls, they were not successful. Now, the Council of Nicaea were able to take out the true name, to replace the true name, Yahuwah, with the Lord, to replace the true concept of Elohim being one God with a triune nature. They were able to replace the concept of Elohim with a modern word that we all call God. But that word is not as modern as you think. The concept of God is modern. But God is a very old word, as I've spoken to you all before. And it's the name of Satan. Goes all the way back to the scrolls of Enoch. So whenever you say in God you trust, whenever you call whatever false entity that you all worship, whenever you call him God, in some cases over in third world countries, a female so-called quote-unquote God is worshipped. So they were able to bend a few things, a very small things in this scroll, but they were not able to diffuse the power of the scroll and the translations of the scroll. And as I told you all before, you can do the research yourself. Righteous people are always made to look evil. Righteous people are always demonized. King James was not a white man. He was not a homosexual. King James had 8 children. Homosexuals don't have 8 children. You don't make that many mistakes before you figure out that you like to sword fight. King James had 8 children by one wife. He was an Israelite. And he did not name the Bible after himself. The people, never exalt yourself. The people called it the King James Bible because he was a just and upright man. The slanders and the rumors of King James being this and that didn't come out until years after his death. These slanders and lies, in order for people to believe them, they have to bring about these twisted deceptions after people are deceased. Because you can't go against the truth when it's alive. Even if you lie on the person, that person's character, his or her actions, will outweigh the deception. The Bible is a real book. And the reason why it got tampered with slightly, and the reason why people have always attempted to tamper with it, and the reason why there are people that are trying to ban the Bible is because it's true. Satan doesn't care about falsehood because he's the father of lies. Satan doesn't attack other lies. He stands by them and allows them to continue. Satan doesn't fight against deception. He doesn't fight against falsehood. He allows it, and he uplifts it, and he magnifies it. But the prophets and the apostles of Christ will never be magnified by men and will never be uplifted by men because people hate righteousness. Destruction is coming to all who call good evil and evil good, whom are twisted and put light for darkness and darkness for light because they don't want to own up to their own shit. And there they burnt incense, meaning, and there they worshipped in all the high places, as did the heathen, as did the other nations, whom Yahuwah carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke Yahuwah to anger. The ancestors of us black folks did all types of wicked things to provoke Christ to anger. And we continue today to provoke Christ to anger. I'm aware now that it's impossible to compel this people to do righteousness. For they served idols. Wherefore Yahuwah had said unto them, You shall not do this thing. Yet Yahuwah testified against Israel and against Judah, you Negroes here in America, by all the prophets and by all the seers. My own dad told me that he won't listen to me preach the Bible. He'll listen to anyone else but he won't listen to me. Hold on.